first, I think malware is a term that we came up with because we got a little bit tired of talking about viruses and Trojans and botnets and spyware and many other kind of things. And we needed one name to describe all of them, so we're using the name malware. So malware is any kind of program or any kind of an object that attacks you. Usually gets installed on your machine and then does bad things to it, to you, or to the world.
If you ask the person on the street, you know, what a hacker is, what a cyber criminal is, you probably get a definition of somebody who's you know, Matthew Broderick style war games, you know, clacking away brute force at a company. That is absolutely you know, that might have been true 20 years ago. It is definitely not true today. Malicious software today is a business, and it's big time business. The malware today is extremely stealthy. It specializes in gaining a foothold on your system and remaining there.
It used to be the bored hacker that you know, didn't have a girlfriend, so Friday night, instead of going out with friends, sat at home and tried to show the world how they know how to hack. And
with the phosphor burns on the face.
Exactly, yeah, and you know, their goal there was just to prove that they can do it. Maybe in some case cause some damage or steal a couple of credit card numbers. Whereas today we're talking about organized crime and nation states attacking for big gains, either monetary gains or espionage-related gains. And that means that there is a lot of money going into hacking. And that means that there's a lot of money going into, for example, discovering new vulnerabilities that nobody knows about and then going and exploiting these vulnerabilities. There's a lot of money going into developing very sophisticated malware, very sophisticated software for getting on the network, but even more than that, not being detected, meaning being persistent, not being detected, and then also breaking out of the network. It's getting tougher and tougher to fight it because there is a lot of investment going into developing this.
Sure. There's an economy essentially for malware now, right, Brian?
Well, they're reinvesting, as Nir said, they're reinvesting their earnings into developing stealthier, more feature-rich malware out there.
I think that in the past, malware was spreading around through floppy disks, for those of you that still remember what floppy disks are. Then we went through different phases. I think we had a phase where malware was spreading through the internet by attacking a machine and then scanning the network, looking for open ports, open services, looking for vulnerabilities in these services, exploiting these vulnerabilities, and then jumping to the next machine in order to keep spreading around. And the goal there was to spread to as many machines as possible, as quickly as possible, before you get detected by the antivirus companies. And we're still seeing a lot of that today. I think we're seeing now another phase where some of these malware attacks are very targeted, meaning the attacker wakes up in the morning and says, today I'm going to attack this specific bank or this specific 5 high-tech companies or whatever, and then develop malware to specifically go and attack those 5 companies. And this is the complete opposite of what we've seen before. Remember what I said before, we've seen malware trying to spread as quickly as possible to as many machines as possible, where we're seeing more and more now attackers trying to spread to very few number of machines and do it relatively quietly and slowly so that they don't get detected at all.
APT is a huge hot button issue. It's a little controversial. But essentially, APT is something that it's a targeted threat. It gets into your network, usually comes via email. It is often with a subject or something in the email that it's specific to what you focus on. It might look like it comes from a superior or a coworker or colleague. And the goal is to get malicious software inside your organization. And once they're there, they go laterally throughout the network, compromise administrator accounts, try to get a better foothold on the system. And then the goal is to exfiltrate sensitive information from your system. APT, typically these attacks, when security experts look at them, they tend to trace back to China. This is not always the case, but there's also a tendency to focus on exploits. Nir was talking about this earlier. APT often involves zero-day threats. So software vulnerabilities that nobody's seen before until after they're used successfully against somebody. But typically, I think a lot of these APT threats aren't actually using zero-day vulnerabilities. They're using flaws in browser plugins, operating system flaws that people know about.
Right.
The danger with APT is what they're after. The schematics, the company secrets, the trade secrets, the negotiation strategies, and who they're going after, the targets, the government, Fortune 500 companies, that kind of thing.
Sure.
The first danger with APT is that, I think, by the way, APT comes from the word apathy. It's not really advanced persistent threat, and I really think that APT is a term that a lot of security people today, especially those that are working for large companies or governments, are using to throw their names, to throw their hands up and say, sorry, I cannot deal with it, it's an APT. So it becomes a way to make up excuses for why you're being attacked and why there's nothing you can do about it, where in reality that's not, I think, true. So that's the first danger with APT. It's the fact that we use that term in order to say there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, there's also a lot of money to be made.
And there's a lot of money to be made from it. I think the second danger with APT is the fact that we even talk about malware today, and we talk about exploits, and we talk about a lot of things as separate methods of attack or separate things. And in reality, the reason we do that is because the products that we're buying today are either handling one or the other. So we buy web security gateways to handle malware. And then we buy IPSs to try to prevent exploits. And then we might be buying other products to maybe lock down other components like data leakage prevention products and things like that, where in reality this separation just doesn't make any sense anymore, because the same attack, the same threat is using all components in order to get itself on the network, and trying to separate it into separate buckets is, I think, it will be dangerous because you will not be able to detect it. It's very simple today. You wake up in the morning, you decide to attack a company. I mean, I'm simplifying it a little bit. You find out who works for the company. You can use LinkedIn for that. You find out who their friends are and what they like. You use Facebook for that. You create a PDF document that exploits a previously unknown vulnerability, a vulnerability that only you know about because you spent a lot of money researching vulnerabilities.
Or buying one.
Or buying ones. And that's all she wrote. 2 minutes after the PDF document makes it to the end user, either via email or via instant messenger file transfers or via Dropbox or via the download site. 2 minutes later, that machine is owned by you, right? And you're on the.
Well, I think and it's important to point out that part of the reason social engineering is such a vector these days for malware is people put a lot of trust in social networks. People put this is a place where they go to share very sensitive information about themselves. They feel okay clicking links, doing all kinds of things that could get them into trouble.
Today, the situation is that different pieces of the attack are detected by different products. So, for example, as I said, first, they exploit you, right? They send you a PDF document that exploits you. It's the role of the IPS to detect that. Then they go out and they download the actual malware, the backdoor program or the bot or whatever it is. That's usually detected using the anti-malware products. And then that piece of software is breaking out of your network and connecting back to the attacker, what's called the callback or the phone home. And we have different names for that. That's the role of the IPS again to detect that today. And it might have been a good thing to separate the IPS and the antivirus a long time ago, but it just doesn't work anymore today. You need one solution to go and detect these attacks.
Nir, you just said that you're hopeful or you're confident that we'll get better at detecting these things. I'm just curious what makes you say that. I mean,
I think that we're going to see technology that is, again, able to detect things automatically, to determine whether something is good or bad without knowing anything a priori about it, which is something that we don't do that much today. Specifically, I think we're going to see more environments where you take objects coming into the organization, and when I say objects, I mean web pages, executables, PDFs.
And running them in a system.
And running them on a system and seeing what it does to the system. And by that, determining whether it's good or bad. I mean, that technology existed, by the way, 20 years ago. It's just that I don't think we found a good way of integrating it into our processes. Technology that's given an object, will tell you whether it's good or bad without knowing anything a priori about that object.
So what do you call that? Dynamic analysis, or what is that?
I don't know if I have a name for that. I think that maybe we'll call it zero-day analysis.
Well, no, I mean,
call it sandbox analysis.
I think you're spot on. I mean, I think you have to be checking out what's coming into your network. I mean,
Sure.
You can't rely on your users to do the right thing because they're going to fail you 100% of the time. You can't rely on the desktop stuff because it's not going to detect it until it's too late. So you need to have something.